World Health Organization identifies major gaps in Ghana's preparedness for the deadly coronavirus following confirmation of a case in Nigeria. We have a response plus updates from the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, minority in Parliament is tonight raising questions about President Akufo-Addo's safety following his recent European tour on which he visited countries such as Norway and the UK, which have both recorded cases.
Could my honourable friend confirm whether, upon arrival in the country from his European tour, His Excellency the President would be quarantined? I say so because the President of Mongolia has the quarantine for the 14-day mandatory period.
We have more of that coming up. We'll also bring you updates on a meeting ongoing among health officials. We have details on all of that coming up. Top story is brought to you by Gassem, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready, and Uncharted Furniture. My name is Gifty Andoh Appiah. Tonight, the World Health Organization has identified major gaps in the country's preparedness plus control protocols should there be any confirmed cases of COVID-19, popularly known as coronavirus. A detailed report from the World Health Organization revealed that in spite of the country's capacity to test for COVID-19 disease, its readiness status is largely moderate. The report also classified Ghana among high-risk African countries based on the volumes of passengers who troop in and out of the country. So far, 15 suspected cases have been tested for the virus, and all those cases have tested negative. Head of Health Desk Fred Smith has been monitoring that meeting among health officials here in Ghana, and he'll give us an update from that meeting. But first, more on the WHO's assessment of Ghana's readiness to deal with this fast-spreading virus. Fred, the WHO rates our readiness, Ghana's readiness status, as largely moderate. What does this mean?
Well, it released a statement in which it says that it used the WHO's country readiness checklist and assessed Ghana's capacities to respond to any suspected or confirmed case of COVID-19 and identified gaps to plan for preparedness, response and control activities. And it says that the government of Ghana has committed 2.5 million Ghana cedis to support preparedness. Various activities are being undertaken, including strengthening surveillance to identify suspected COVID-19 cases for testing. There is capacity in country to test for COVID-19 disease. The Gucci Memorial Institute for Memorial Research, that's one of them, and the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research. So far, 15 suspected cases have been tested for, with all 15 testing negative. And Gifty, I must alert you that this was released for the 14th of February and prepared for the period before the 7th of February. And so events after that have not been captured in this document. Okay. In this document, it gives ranking to the various activities required for the assessment as your preparation. So it says coordination was scored 100%, and I'll explain to you later how we achieved that 100% there. Risk communication, we achieved 80%. Surveillance, we've achieved 73%. Laboratory capacity, 73%. Logistics, 73%. Infection prevention and control, 67%. Overall 59%. Points of entry, we've done 50%, and rapid response we have done 30%. The reason why we've done so well with coordination is that we've had 2 meetings of the National Technical Coordinating Committee that has been held to plan coordination and preparedness activities. The WHO preparedness checklist has also been completed. On that score, a draft COVID-19 preparedness plan has also been developed. Alerts have been issued by the Director General of the Ghana Health Service on the outbreak and circulated to all regions to initiate preparedness activities and enhance surveillance for respiratory diseases. Meetings have been held among many others, and so if you check our coordination, we've done so well. But the WHO in this same document identifies significant gaps in our preparation, and so I'll give you details of those gaps that they say. In terms of capacity building, it says that there's a funding gap of 502,600 Ghana cedis missing. That's about 91,000 US dollars. Surveillance, we have a funding gap of 130,000 Ghana cedis. Risk communication, 566,600 Ghana cedis. Equipment and logistics, 2.5 million.
Hang on, Fred, that's a lot of figures. Let's try and break it down so our listeners can digest it. Now, you mentioned 520,000, is it?
No, 502,000.
Okay. Now, just so we are clear, this has to do with what the WHO says Ghana needs, how much the WHO says Ghana needs to be able to deal with the spread of this virus.
Indeed.
Okay. And that amount again is?
502,600 Ghana cedis.
Okay. Please go ahead.
A little over 500,000 Ghana cedis. And then for surveillance, we have 130,000 Ghana cedis. For risk communication, we have 566,600 Ghana cedis funding gap.
Okay.
For equipment and logistics, we have 2.5 million funding gap, which is required. Okay. And then for laboratory, we have 497,367. That's around 500,000 Ghana cedis. Together, the funding gap of a little over 4 million Ghana cedis required.
Okay. So that's how much WHO says Ghana needs, even though they acknowledge some successes that we've chalked there. We'll be talking to Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, but we've also been monitoring a strategic meeting that has been going on among Ghana's health officials following the outbreak of Nigeria. Yeah. What updates do we have from this meeting?
Well, we do understand that meeting took place today, and a while ago, a statement has been issued by the Ghana Health Service, and it captures what has been planned at this meeting, and I'll read to you verbatim. It says, Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service have received news of the confirmation of the first case of coronavirus disease or COVID-19 in Nigeria, a sub-regional neighbor, on the 27th of February 2020. We wish to take the opportunity to reassure Ghanaians that we will continue to intensify our preparedness activities and heighten surveillance at all points of entry to ensure that all citizens are safe and secured. Meanwhile, it says, we entreat the general public to stick to the following precautionary measures. 1. Regularly wash hands with soap and running water, or if possible, use hand sanitizers regularly. Practice common cough or sneezing etiquette, such as covering of mouth with handkerchief or tissue paper when coughing or sneezing. And if you have recently arrived from any of the countries that have reported a case, we advise you to stay away from a crowd. That's to self-quarantine for at least 14 days. In case of persistent cough or fever, contact the call center, which has been set up as part of the risk communication, and they give the numbers. I'm sure these numbers will be advertised on myjoyonline.com so people can see and take note of them.
Okay.
And point 5 there, it says, do not visit any health center or facility on your own if you have just returned from any of the affected countries and you are exhibiting symptoms like fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing. Call the numbers as I mentioned above.
We can go through the numbers.
The numbers,
1 or 2, so people can take note.
Indeed, they are 055 2222
Okay.
The other is 055 2222
Okay, wrap up for us, Fred.
Yes. So, in order to streamline communication and to avoid creating fear and panic, we advise the media to speak only to designated experts whose contacts they have also provided. So they give 4 individuals who can speak to this, and it also advises the public not to spread false information.
Certainly, in dealing with cases like this, you ought to keep the information crisp and authentic. And exactly that's what we're doing right now. Fred, thank you. Fred Smith is head of our health desk. So let's speak to Director of the Public Health of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, who joins us on the line. Doc, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, too, for calling me.
Right, so let's begin with what the WHO is saying. In fact, the WHO report is questioning our preparedness. In fact, they say that we've done some good work, but it looks like there is still a lot more. They've identified what they're calling significant gaps. Let's start with the money. Over 4 million is needed. How are we addressing this issue?
the WHO is not questioning our preparedness. They are putting out the facts out there. We did this plan. We are working with the development partners, including WHO. And if they indicate that this is the gap, really, there are certain things that immediately that we have planned to do. We plan for short term, 1 month, 1 quarter. Should it get extended? So these are the things that have been planned. And clearly, we do admit that our plan is not optimal, and it's a process. And what has been done, what has been procured, and what is left to be done, it may even be more based on the situation that will be faced. Should you have a such situation, you need obviously more than this. So they are not questioning it. They are telling us that this is the gap that is available. Nobody is being questioned. I think that we put that right. And we did this, the World Health Organization country team, the WR brought a team, the DPC, officer in charge of disease prevention and control, and others. We work with them to prepare this, and we are in this also working with other partners. We have the World Bank, UNICEF, USCDC. All of them are part of this preparation, and then some of them have indicated their readiness to provide some support in terms of logistics.
Right. But when I say the WHO, sorry to interrupt, when I say the WHO is questioning, they've given us a list of the things that we've done well and the things that were not done so well. And one of the things they've indicated, we had 30% on that. I mean, coordination, it looks like they believe that our paper, everything, we have drafted things, so on paper it looks good. But when you talk about rapid response, for example, which is crucial, they've scored us 30%. That is certainly a huge gap that we need to fill.
Response should be ready at national level, regions, districts. We do admit that we have major challenge at the district rapid response. So what we have done as a stopgap, the national rapid response, when initially it's not expected that there will be massive widespread of the condition, and whatever to be done, the district should do what they could do. The regions will fall to support as backup, and then the national rapid response team. So it will be over huge use of the various middle and national level teams. And these we have strategy to use the little that we have as efficiently and effectively as possible.
The health minister went to Parliament, and then we know that 2.5 million cedis was allocated to this. Can you give us an understanding whether or not money is a problem in dealing with this virus at this time?
This was provided, and clearly the government of Ghana indicated that it should be used as the initial startup fund for our preparedness, giving assurance that should there be the need for further support, working with the partners, more will be added. We had a meeting with the chief director. I'm aware that processes are in place through the ministry to get more funds for the preparedness activities. Any
idea how much we're looking at here?
We have submitted the plan to them. They have to look at it and come up with what they provide. It's what they give which we can bring out.
Is it anything close to what the WHO is recommending, 4 million cedis?
Probably it could be more.
Okay. We're looking at a report that indicates that 15 suspected cases have been tested here in Ghana and declared negative. But we also know that the 15 suspected cases is sort of backdated. Is there an update so far in total? How many cases?
Currently, as of yesterday, we have 25 suspected cases, all tested and are negative.
25 suspected cases?
Yes, 25.
Which areas are these?
Come again.
Which areas did we record the suspected cases?
We picked some from the points of entry, few from the regions, and so the surveillance systems within the country and across the borders are all functioning, and the cases are being sent not from one site, and it's coming from all over.
And so, when you say surveillance system, I'm assuming that you are referring to the one that the minister discussed on the floor of Parliament.
The surveillance structure in the country, we have a mechanism to monitor all priority disease conditions. And COVID-19 has been added to the priority disease conditions. And continuously, we are watching, using case definitions to look for such cases. Should somebody come and meet the case definition, we initiate mechanisms to investigate. So we have surveillance structure which has been long-standing over the years, and we just added this to the COVID-19 to it. So it is the system that you use to monitor priority disease conditions.
So that's an existing structure.
Cholera, meningitis, and this has added on to it.
Okay, so that's an existing structure you're talking about.
Existing structure which has been enhanced because for now, staff have been further sensitized and alert has been sent, and that should you have a case like this, you should do best to take samples for further investigation. And so this is also happening at the various points of entry, particularly the designated.
I'm looking at the WHO documents, and in terms of points of entry, they score us 50%. So half of what we should be doing is what we're doing at the moment. In the wake of what's happening in Nigeria, we know that Nigeria has a confirmed case. Are we stepping up the surveillance in the places where Nigeria...
We use a checklist for all the various indices to assess our preparedness. So with the checklist, if you look at areas that is top priority and you realize that they are deficient or inadequate, we do best and put in mechanism to strengthen. So we go by available checklist, which was prepared by WHO. Countries have adopted the list.
I understand what you're saying, sir, but what you're saying is very, I beg your pardon, is pretty vague. I want us to speak specifically to what is happening in Nigeria and exactly what we are doing to make sure that, especially our entry point by air and by land, how we're protecting those places.
What has happened could have happened to any country. We have mechanisms doing screening and doing surveillance at the various points of entry. We are aware of our frequent interaction between Nigeria and Ghana, and as much as possible, other countries affected, they are also, no matter the distance, they are also closer to us as much as Nigeria. So what we have put in place, all the various travelers coming through our major points of entry designated, we have thermal scanners to check their temperature. We have health declaration form to know where they have been over the past few days. We have mechanisms to ask signs and symptoms if these people are expressing such symptoms. And then while they are in country, where are they going to lodge? What are the contact details? So that should it become necessary to follow up on them. Specifically with Nigeria, we don't have widespread condition in Nigeria. So Nigeria is a risk. So it is not also more risk than other areas affected. And we don't have to over-concentrate on that because of their proximity to us. So we are monitoring all the relevant countries, particularly the West affected, and see how the travelers from these areas are handled. And we pick their temperature, signs and symptoms, look at where they have been, whether they have interacted with other people with the condition, whether people from these conditions have visited them over the past 2 weeks. And these have been going on and further strengthened with the emerging issues.
Okay, I have a very final question for you, Doc. You talked about the areas we are concentrating on. We know that Italy is it's become the epicenter for Europe as far as this outbreak is concerned. We also know that there are still flights that are coming in from across the world. We know even that there are still flights coming in from China. Are there other? At your press conference the other time, you indicated that people who are coming through the airport will be quarantined for 14 days. And does that include everybody that's coming or specifically China? Are we adding Italy and the other countries that have recorded cases to those who will be quarantined when they reach our airport?
I don't remember ever having been said that people from such areas will be quarantined. What we mentioned, people from West affected area being the Hubei province of the People's Republic of China. That is where we have indicated as a country that anybody coming from that area will be quarantined. Mm-hmm. Other areas do not merit our arrangement for quarantine for now, but then we have mechanism to watch closely, but not to keep them for 14 days.
So for
people from
Italy,
the Hubei province, that we have agreed as a country that anybody coming from that area we place them on quarantine.
Okay, so what it means is that even with what's happening in Italy, we've not reviewed our protocols to include persons coming from Italy or any other country that has recorded cases.
Agree. It is not we alone. We need to discuss and agree and come to consensus.
Have you quarantined anybody from the Hubei province since you held that press conference?
I'm to Ghana from Hubei since it started. We are still watching.
Thank you very much, Doc, for your time this evening. I've been talking to the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie there. As you've heard, our protocol has been that people coming from Hubei province will be quarantined for 14 days. So far, he says nobody has come through from Hubei province, but Italy has recorded several cases. Any other country we've not reviewed our processes to include persons coming from any other country. Well, let's go to Parliament, because the issue about COVID-19 took center stage in Parliament today. There are some concerns about the safety of President Akufo-Addo and his team. Kumungu Member of Parliament Ras Mubarak is asking government what it is doing to ensure that President Akufo-Addo and the team are safe from the coronavirus following their trip in Norway, where a case has been recorded. Today in Parliament, he quizzed the Majority Leader, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, whether or not the President will be quarantined upon his return. Listen.
Would my honorable friend confirm whether, upon arrival in the country from his European tour, His Excellency the President would be quarantined? Speaker, I say so because the President of Mongolia has the quarantine for the 14-day mandatory period. And the Speaker, the Excellency the President has visited Norway, which has recorded a case of coronavirus. It will be very helpful to get an indication as to whether or not His Excellency will be quarantined when he arrives in the country.
Well, Joseph Opoku Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent. He'll join us to tell us more about what happened in Parliament today. We'll also be talking to Ras Mubarak, who is on the line with us right now. Hello, Ras Mubarak. All right, so Joseph joins us in the studio with details of what happened today in Parliament. Joseph, take us through the proceedings. How did this issue come up on the floor of Parliament?
It was a concern that came up following the business meeting and the details that were put out by the Majority Leader, and then that had Ras Mubarak raising those specific concerns about the President. The reaction from the Majority Leader, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu.
Given that a lot of water has passed on the bridge, it may become necessary for the Minister of Health to come back again and acquaint us and indeed update us about the status of the country, our state of preparedness in confronting the threat that is confronting the world. As to the request by the Honorable Mubarak that the President would have to be quarantined where he arrives, I want to believe that it was said in jest.
So you had the Majority Leader there responding to Ras Mubarak, who unfortunately we have not been able to raise on the line. We'll try and raise him back so we get more of what he wanted, the point he was making in Parliament today. But Joseph is still here. Joseph, what more did the minority members in Parliament say about coronavirus?
On the floor, there were questions about how come there's not been the evacuation of the Ghanaian students in Wuhan, raised by Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. And again on the floor, there were questions to the Majority Leader about the need to summon the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Menu, to come update members of Parliament on this. But earlier in the day, there was a press conference by the minority on the issue having to do with the National Health Insurance Scheme and the outstanding debt. And there, some comments came up from the ranking member, Kwabena Mintah-Kandor, on the need for the evacuation of Ghanaian students in Wuhan.
When we said Ghana government should evacuate students from Wuhan, under such circumstances, before you evacuate, there are protocols. Okay, you just don't go and put a flight there and say, if you're a student, just jump into the flight and come to Ghana. That's not what you do. What you do is that first you do screening right in China there. So you do all these screenings. If there's any diagnosis or there's a protocol, a top protocol, then those who are safe, okay, will be on the flight, come back to Ghana. When they arrive in Ghana, there's another protocol. That's why we have isolation centers and we have so when they go through the protocols in Ghana, Sometimes they could even be quarantined for about 2 weeks, 14 days. I understand as the incubation period for the virus. Do you understand? So when we keep them for the 2 weeks and we don't see any signs of the virus, then you can then integrate them into the entire population. You understand? So we didn't say that just go and bring them and then integrate them without putting any protocol in place. So that is what we meant. I don't know what the country you are talking about, I don't know what they did, or it could even as well be that the person who brought the case was even a part of the evacuation. So let's go back to the National Health Insurance Authority.
That's ranking member on the Health Committee, Kwabena Minta Akando. Earlier on, the ranking member on Defense and Interior Committee, James Algaga, says that more resources must be allotted to the fight against coronavirus, in which so far 51 countries have recorded cases. That's it for Top Story today. Top Story is brought to you as always by Bond. Your success, our passion. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? Gasem, the nation builder, and Antarctic Furniture. My name is Gifty Andoh Appiah. We connect on Ghana Connect right after this.